Good morning. Good morning, Start. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to start this board meeting with devotion. I'm leading devotion. Can we stand for devotion? With prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for waking us up to see a new day and giving us health, strength, and a sound mind. Bless the county. Thank you and bless this board. Lord, I ask you to give us the knowledge to make the best decision for the county. Thank you and all these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Dear pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, next we have a proclamation for Mississippi Gulf Coast Innovation Week. I'll read it, then we'll come down and take a picture. Whereas Mississippi Gulf Coast composed of Hancock County, Jackson County, and their municipalities function as a unified region. Economy works together in advance innovation and economic development and the quality of life. Whereas the region emerged as a leader in blue economy, support key initiatives, including USM Research Foundation and Gulf Coast Blue Navigation Program and Gulf Coast Business Council Startup Gulf Coast, both which encourage entrepreneurship, technology development, and connected innovation and critical resources. Whereas these coordinated efforts strengthen the workforce, generate new businesses, and position Gulf Coast in the hub of innovation-driven growth and long-term prosperity. Whereas in the Mississippi Gulf Coast Innovation Week brings together entrepreneurs, investors, leaders, community stakeholders, events and discussions that highlights an emerging technology that fosters the region and the collaboration. Whereas the Innovation Week showcased the sector of the agriculture, coastal resilience, national security, sustainable ocean innovations, reinforce the importance of the blue economy in this region's future. Therefore, the Board of Supervisors hereby proclaim May 18 to the 22nd of 2006 as Mississippi Gulf Coast Innovation Week. In Jackson County, we affirm commitment to the region and collaboration with the Gulf Coast to strengthen the blue economy and support the startup and development and the driven and growing economy. And in addition to the community, the board, and Innovation Week, we support the continued growth of the region and the economic system. Can I get a vote? Motion by Mr. Bosart, second by Mr. Thomas. All in favor by saying aye? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. I hereby set my hand, cause the seal of Jackson County to be affixed in the March Board Supervisor 2026. Thank you. We'll go down and take a picture.
Yeah, sure. Morning. Morning. Hey.
Yeah, I would. First, thank you all for your leadership in Jackson County. Y'all truly are leading not just the coast, but the state. Innovation Week, this is changing. It's going fast, mostly around innovation and technology, and we've got some incredible programs that are happening within our region. We thought it was necessary just to start to recognize those things and to bring more attention across the coast. So this is the first year that we've done this formally, but we hope that it'll be something that will grow each year. So with that being said, tomorrow we'll have a pitch competition. If anybody is regretting they didn't get a chance to buy Google back in 1999, There may be a new tech startup that happens this week, and then USM's got Blue Navigator, which is focused on blue tech companies across the country that they bring here. Will be happening Wednesday, their demo day. And then Thursday, I want to personally invite the supervisors. We've got a table at no charge, of course, that we've invited all of our county supervisors, Hancock, Jackson, and Harrison County. So our State of the Coast Economy event that we have Thursday morning, we invite you, if you've not gotten that email already, please plan to attend. And with that, I'll let you continue with your business, and we'll do a quick picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Getting a little bit more. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, sir. All right. Please come Thursday. Yes, sir.
All right, wear a suit.
No time.
Good, thank you. All right, I'm good. There you go. Oh, okay. Hey, Barry. There you go, for our presentation.
Oh, we got another one?
This is
This is scholarship. We have a presentation.
MES, City Association of Supervisors, Scholarship, Mr. Charles Chase Clark, he's the road department. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Say it now.
You got a check?
He said you won't say it.
Where are you going to school? What do you study?
Southern Miss Construction Management.
Oh, good.
Road department.
He's working for the road department. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Thank y'all.
All right,
thank you,
sir. Thank you. Good luck. Hey, can we get a picture with his parents too? With you guys and the parents? We'll take one of you guys out here. Sorry. His dad works in the road department too.
Hey, Joe back there, sit down.
Come up here. All right.
There you go.
All right. All right. 1, 2. All right. That's it.
Thank you.
We have any amendments to the agenda? Barry, Mr. Thomas?
I have one, Mr. President. I want to add an executive session item concerning economic development.
Bozard?
I have a supervisor.
Eldridge?
Yeah, I have two under consent under me. Session, so we could amend it from potential litigation to matters that are exempt under the Public Records Act, please. And that's all I have.
Any others?
Yes, I need to make an amendment to add re-advertising for bids, the multi-purpose arena concession and restroom building at Lone Compass Park under consent agenda, purchase.
Motion by Mr. Bozard, second by Mr. Taylor. All in motion passed.
Okay, and the last item I have is the resolution authorizing the operating transfers for fiscal year September 30th, 2026.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Troy Ross,
Second.
second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor by saying aye. All opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ms. Barnett?
Yes, good morning. I have a resolution approving the donation of a K-9 and vehicle insert to the Panola County Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Commerce, second by Mr. Bozard. All in favor by saying aye.
All right, I also have Is it good? I'm sorry. Second resolution authorizing an intergovernmental sale of 2 trucks to Stone County.
Comments by Mr. Commerce, second by Mr. Ross. All in favor by saying aye.
Okay, a resolution authorizing a donation of the office equipment to CASA.
I'll make that motion. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnett. Mr. Fulton?
Yes, I got a brief discussion item here about opportunity zones and then a letter that I nominate other areas too, but we certainly want this one to be included in there. And I've talked with Mary Martha over at the foundation about looking at some of these other tracks too. So we may be back before you next meeting or sometime asking that we support another one to be considered an opportunity zone. So that's what I have. I'll take any questions on that, and I have a letter there that I'd like to get board approval on to submit that as one of the opportunity zone tracks.
402, that's the one.
Yes, sir, that is.
Okay. How were these picked, Brian?
I think well, like I said, only 100 of them across the state can be designated that way. And I think the memo that we have would certainly support that. We've had a lot of public investment in that area with the road project, about $30 million. You know, the state's got money in that, feds have money in that, we have money in that. So that shows an interest by the local government.
Okay.
And then whatever projects that you know that are coming, I think helps too. And so we know about the Lemoyne Landing project and the couple $100 million of potential investment. And so I think that makes this one a pretty good candidate for it.
Okay.
We may have some others. I know the one there on 63 is a pretty large area too.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not sure exactly what, if there's projects coming, but that's one of the ones we want to look at as well.
I make that motion. Any more questions? Mr. Boss, I make motion.
Okay.
Get a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. So, we set the letter. Okay. Mr. Edwards.
Morning. I had emailed y'all and had a little discussion we wanted to have today about the funds we got from the auction for sale of vehicles and equipment from the fire department that had been paid for out of my budget, out of the fire millage. It's $20,385. We'd like to use those funds we got for the auction to buy firefighting protective gear, 5 sets of turnouts, some helmets, boots, gloves, etc.
This is something we've done in the past, haven't
Yes.
we, on auctions like this?
Yes.
I make that motion.
Do we need, okay, can we make a motion? Mr. Mozart?
I'll
Yeah,
second.
I had one question. I think probably my question was the reason we're talking about this. This came from capital or from millage, and if we sell something like that, do we have a policy throughout that the money stays within the organization? Just say whatever's left over from selling it?
Yeah, I mean, it has to, if it was bought with fire millage, that money stays in the fire millage fund.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any more questions? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Motion passed.
That'd be the same way with solid waste too, right? It would stay in solid waste.
Roads, any of them that has that specific millage, that
Good.
money goes back into that fund.
All right.
The next thing is the Mississippi Fire Chiefs Association is holding their annual conference at the IP in Biloxi, May 27th through the 31st. And the organization has asked that we send a fire truck and a brush truck over to be on display while the conference is going on. And I wanted permission to do that.
Okay, I'll make that motion, Earl.
Motion by Mr.
We'll let
Comer.
Troy drive it.
I second it.
Brush truck.
All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. And tell us
Just
guys,
one-
they doing a good job out there. I keep seeing
Well,
us on Facebook.
you have very good people working for y'all on the fire side of the house.
You know.
So they're the guys and young ladies we have working for us, they're something to be very proud of.
Right.
Just one thing I wanted to make y'all aware of that just came up over the weekend. We are having a parking issue out at Ballpark with the pickleball, the tournaments and stuff. Somebody took their four-wheel drive trucks and drove through the backgrounds, totally destroyed the backgrounds, got stuck, almost ran into the back of the fire station. And during the tournaments, they're parking on top of all our underground utilities on that very soft ground and just about destroyed the grinder pumps. So I've been working with maintenance with some way to keep them off the grass. No parking signs don't work because all they read is a park that says parking. They don't read the no. So we're probably going to go in and fence that area in just to keep them from off the ground, which won't affect the parking on the west side where they park at the pickleball courts. Those will all still be open. It's just where they're parking on our grass and on top of our utilities. That's just something I wanted to make y'all aware of.
Wow.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill.
We have a time specific at 9:30.
Okay. The planning, okay. Well, we can come to a presentation with, since it ain't 9:30, come on, Matthew. Dredging projects, status updates and projects and discussion.
His hearing is at 9:30.
What hearing?
For this one.
We don't have a hearing.
President.
It's a public hearing on June 1.
Oh, okay.
Our presentation's probably gonna take longer than 8 minutes or so. I'm fine if we wanna go ahead and get started and then Joe can cut in or.
Jimmy, go ahead.
Well, he got something too.
Yeah, a couple things. Mr. O'Neill, there's no public hearing at 9:30. There's a resolution to set a public hearing at 9:30 on June 1. Is that?
Okay, maybe I read that wrong.
Right,
It's just a resolution on the, setting a public hearing on the abandonment of an easement.
right. You didn't have no time on here. Now, you got a time on the planning.
You want to, Joe, if you want to make mention of that, and we can knock that out of the way real quick.
All good.
Good morning. We've got a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Jackson County, Mississippi, setting a public hearing on the question of abandonment of an easement situated between lots 1 and 5 in town site of Big Point.
This is something we did a couple of years ago.
We get these 1 or 2 a year
Yeah,
sometimes.
but we overlooked one of them, and he's come back and asked to do this one too.
Yeah, we've been getting quite a few as of late
Yeah,
up in that area.
Can I get a motion for what, the June 9th?
I'd make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Carmer. I second it. All in favor by saying aye? All opposed? Motion passed.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Morris, I had one thing that I
Yeah.
amended the agenda on. We're involved in litigation where a lady was injured on Front Beach over in Ocean Springs, and we retained an expert pursuant to a previous resolution of the board, and have a resolution. I'm asking for an increase in the cap on the fees and expenses. The engineer had to review several hundred pages of documents and information, go out to the site and look at it. Got a trial set in October, and so I have a resolution that allows a cap of up to $20,000 in fees and expenses for this lawsuit. There's some pretty good injuries, over 100,000 in medical bills on this case. So, resolution to allow increase in the cap on fees and expenses for an outside engineer for a certain Mississippi Tort Claims Act litigation matter.
I get a motion?
Okay.
Motion, Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Second by Mr. Carmer. All in favor by saying aye? Aye. All opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Carmer. Okay. Since, we can go to state items if you have anything, Brian.
I don't have an update on the action items, no update for state or federal.
That's all we get, okay. All right, Mr. Matthews.
All right, good morning, y'all. We do a lot of dredging projects across the county, and so we felt like it was a good time just to give a good update on it, and then also kind of talk about some new sites that we've been getting requests from, and just go over each of those with you, and just try to get a sense of whether you agree or not, whether they should be added to a potential new project. So here's just a little bit of an overview of everything we're going to cover. We're also going to just kind of give a big picture view of what dredging is in Jackson County and the process, and some of the obstacles that we have to go through. We get a lot of questions from residents about, why dredging projects take so long to come about, and wanting us to do more of it. And so we felt like this might be a good opportunity just to kind of give behind the scenes view of what it takes to go into them. Dredging is necessary in our waters because, through the natural water currents and through storms, the sediment under the water moves around and flows as well. And the tides coming in and out, they're always moving that sediment around. So the bayous and the canals just naturally get shallower, over time. And so there's a lot of good benefits to why we do our dredging projects. The residents, the businesses, and the industries all benefit from them. It connects our waterways to provide transportation, recreation. A lot of people in our areas boat and fish, and it also helps us be more prepared for hurricanes by having deep water in our bayous. When shrimp boats and other vessels need to take safe harbor, there's more areas for those boats to go further upstream to get out of the storm water. And it also helps keep our economy stable by, we've got a few businesses that are somewhat water dependent. And so we try to prioritize projects that keep the depths good to go back and forth from those businesses. Some examples of what we dredge are boat launches, obviously, around piers and the mouths of main bayous in and around the Sound. And the main purpose of our projects, and this is something I have to tell residents often, is that we are basically establishing more or less a roadway into the bayou and along the center line of the bayous. And it's often, it's not uncommon for residents to have to provide a little bit of a or their pier or whatever their specific marine needs are. It's much like a driveway. We establish the road, and then the private homeowner establishes the driveway. Is a good example of kind of where that line of responsibility stops. And so, some of the obstacles that cause our projects to be delayed, you all are all well aware of this, is something we've talked about a lot, but there's vegetation that grows in the bayous, which is a good thing for, the fish and the marine life that live there need that vegetation. It's a really good, baby and young fish habitat for them to have a safe place to grow up. But it's in the way sometimes when we have to dredge through there to for it. And so far we've been, not really having great ideas, or just not anything that was successful with the agencies that we could all agree on, until we've come up to our current mitigation plan, which is to basically recreate the submerged aquatic vegetation, or SAV, in an area where there's not a lot of boat traffic. It's just a big lake in the middle of the Pascagoula Delta that we feel like can have the water bottoms, shallowed up there to let the vegetation expand into that are. And I'll go into some more details about where we are in that process in just another slide or two. Here are some of the other obstacles. we've just got a lot of dredging needs in Jackson County. I mean, as you're all aware, we have a lot of waterways, and so there's just a lot of dredging that needs to take place. And then, you know, when I first started about 6 years ago, we had a very small pool of marine contractors that would even bid on our work, you know, really just one main one. And thankfully, over the 6 years I've been here, that number has increased to about 5 now that we have different contracts with. So that's been, and it's had a good impact on the unit prices of the dredge project. The 40s, but now that we have more contractors on board, they're coming back down into like the $30 per cubic yard range, which is definitely a good thing. And so as we continue to try to overcome these obstacles, we've been thinking of ways that can just help speed up the process even more. And we really want to try to move to a programmatic approach to permitting and also the construction side of dredging. It's been mentioned to me by the Army Corps of Engineers that Jackson County could develop our own general permit for our dredging projects. It's very similar to the DMR's general permit. You know, if it's under a certain quantity, the DMR's general permit is 2,500 cubic yards. And if there are no environmental impacts, then it doesn't even really need to go to the Army Corps or to DEQ. DMR can just permit it themselves. Well, if we had our own general permit, that would fit within those criteria, we would basically be able to permit our own projects, and you know, to a certain extent. So that's one thing we're going to continue to explore, you know, as we get more efficient with these, and then also try to move to like a work order based program with the contractors, where, you know, maybe each contractor would have a zone or an area within the county they would be responsible for. And when those waterways were permitted and ready to go, we could just issue work orders and get the process started with construction even quicker than having to bid out every single project. So those may be another, you know, few years down the road before we're actually doing it that way, but I just wanted to kind of let you know that we're trying to think of ways to improve.
Matthew?
Yes, sir.
Talk about permits. How long does it take to get a permit?
That's perfect timing, because that's exactly what I'm about to go into with my next slide. So there's a little bit of work we have to do before we get to permitting, and we call that preliminary design. And that's basically, you know, figuring out where the piers are at on the bayous, how far we need to go up into bayous, how many bayous need to be in a project, and just basically gathering input data so that we can move into the permitting process. And so that usually takes about 3 months, you know, from actually signing a contract with an engineer, getting their surveyors in the water to take the depths of the water of what it is currently, and then building a preliminary set of plans that can then be taken to the permitting agencies. Permitting, I have on here 6 to 12 months is a good feel for it, but that's really, I hate to say it, but a best case scenario. We have some projects when they have the SAV and vegetation impacts, it can take, you know, a lot longer than that. Unfortunately, some of our projects have been going on for 6 or 7 years now, that we've been trying to get permits for because of the mitigation problem. But we feel like once the mitigation is approved by everyone, that will allow these other projects that have been going on for so long to finally get their permits. So one of the things that takes so long is, you know, it's that you can only check for the SAVs from May to September during the summer when that's in the growing season. So if we started a project, you know, in August, if we started a project, you know, in September, then it may be till the next summer until they can actually check for the SAVs and really get the permit process moving. So that's why we've been trying to start them in like spring or early summer, so that we meet that window right away. You know, there is a public notice process where all the adjacent landowners get notified of the project. They have a chance to comment on it. We could have a public hearing because of those comments, and so that whole process, unfortunately, you know, just takes this long. If it's good and it all goes smoothly, it could be, you know, six to 9 months, but just generally the way things have been going, you know, it could take up to a year. Then once we do have, you know, all the permitting settled, basically just repackaging everything up. If anything changed through the permitting process, we may have had to, you know, go narrower in some places to avoid SAVs, or, you know, come up with the mitigation. That all, you know, is accomplished in the final design process, which is about another 2 months.
So Matthew, so the ones you got been on for 7 years, so every year y'all go out there and look at that area, or they just what?
Well, no, I mean, once we do get a permit for those permits are good for either 5 years, or sometimes they're good for 10 years. And so over that course, we could have them re-dredged again and not have to go through the permitting process at all. And we're trying to keep them active too, to where we have them renewed. If there's still a need for dredging there, you know, we have them renewed before that expiration date occurs.
You know,
I think his question was, do we go out there every year and check to see if it's still there?
Yes, I mean, yes. On the ones that have those, we usually do go back and recheck, because that's happened before too. You know, sometimes the vegetation just naturally fluctuates too, and it may not be there the next year. And then we
dried up. That's why I was saying that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that has happened before on some of our projects. Unfortunately, the ones in Moss Point, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that's a good point. We do check for that, you know, before we wait a whole nother year. So like I said, once we get past the bidding process, or the permitting process, then that gets us into the bidding phase. And it's usually, you know, a solid 3 months by the time, you know, it's approved. Like what we just did today, we approved to advertise for bids on some projects. Those ads have to run for 2 weeks in the newspaper consecutively, and then after that second ad runs, it's 15 business days after that before you can have the bid opening. Then, you know, the engineers evaluate the bids, it comes back before the board for it to then be awarded. Then the contracts are signed. We give, you know, 3 copies of the contracts to the contractors. They put the bonds in place, and then it comes back before the board to be signed again. So that whole process is, you know, there's not much room to tighten it at all. That's all mandated by the statutes. So it is what it is in that sense. But then we're finally to construction. And so, you know, here's some time frames for the different size projects we have. You know, the quickest we've done them is in about 2 to 3 months on small projects, but, you know, the larger ones can take up to a year or multiple years, unfortunately. And we're really trying to avoid those moving forward. You know, a 6-month project is about the most we think that it should take. That allows for more contractors to be active in the projects. And then during the winter, you know, progress slows a lot because we have such low winter tides, and that, you know, even when you do have good depths, they kind of get to where the barges can't get in and out as easily. So we do still dredge over the winter, but it just slows the progress down a lot. So that's kind of the big picture, you know, the process, and now we're just going to get into all the projects we do have active and just what stages they're in. So we have 14 active dredging projects currently. 6 of those are what we call in the design and permitting phase, and they haven't been permitted yet. There are 3 that are permitted, that are, but not yet bid out. So we're kind of, like I said, due to the, low number, turned it into a bathtub, so to speak. And then behind that berm, throughout, when we have dredging projects, the spoils will be placed there, and the elevation is currently about 5 foot deep, and we're actually going to shallow it up to 2 foot deep, because the perimeter of that lake has SAVs growing in it already. And so we think that if we, make the water depths be shallower next to those SAVs that are already there, they will then expand into our site, and that will be, us creating more SAVs that weren't there previously. So we hoped that we would the Army Corps for the past 2 years developing this mitigation plan. And our engineers over that process have been meeting with them, showing them what, the site is, how they're going to measure these SAVs, and so far the Army Corps and the DMR have been giving us thumbs up. They said, yes, we're going to approve this. And the very last submission is set to go to them about mid-June coming up. So that'll go to them mid-June. Hopefully within 30 to 60 days we'll hear back from them on any comments that they have. If they hopefully they're only minor, because like I said, they've been giving comments to us all along already. And we will finally have a permit for the mitigation site. Once we have that permit in hand, we will then take these 6 dredging projects that are still in the design and permitted stage and resubmit their permit applications with that mitigation plan language in it, so that then hopefully we'll have those actual permits for the dredging sites themselves. And we plan to try to, keep pushing as many forward as we can. We've got a lot in construction this year, so that's the plan, hopefully. And so if all of those 6 get permitted this year, then next year in 2027, those will hopefully be in construction. We really haven't started a new project since 2024. So we really need to start a new one this year, so that 2028 and further down the line we still have things that are in the pipeline ready to go to construction. And so these are kind of the details of each of those phases. So these are the 6 phases right now. And I actually misspoke slightly, because the 2 at the bottom, St. Martin and Octavia Drive and McInnes Bayou, actually don't have impacts. And they are kind of moving smoothly through the permitting process. We don't have them all quite yet. Most of St. Martin and Octavia is all of McInnes Bayou, and there's still one site that is. We're still just working through the process to get those.
So look, Matthew, let me ask you on Octavia, would that be something that could qualify like we did at Lake Mars boat ramp? That it could be a yearly maintenance thing, permit maybe like we did at Lake Mars?
Yes. Well, really all of them, like I said, until the permit expires, we can go back and have them dredged. But the site at Octavia, it's actually 2 of the neighborhood bayous that's to the west of the boat launch. The boat launch itself, and then a small neighborhood around the Eagle's Nest area. And then St. Martin and Octavia I've mentioned before. And then these are all our active construction projects. Like I said, Lake Mars at the bottom was under a PO. I just heard from that contractor that it should be finished this week. Now we would like to get into the new sites. This is a list of from you all that residents have asked for dredging. We're going to go through them each one by one, and I'm going to let
the objective, because we try to only do main channels, and it's an offshoot that only serves about 4 homes, or, excuse me, 2. However, if we pair them with other sites in Porto Bayou, there are 2. It could be feasible. The second one is Porto Bay Drive. Same here, the resident questioned why the section hadn't been dredged. You requested this back in 2023. It would also help drainage in the site for that neighborhood. And the third is Riviera Drive. A resident here requested the dredging in November of 2020. However, we took a boat ride with our portmaster, and the depths seem to be pretty adequate here. Next one is in Old Fort Bayou, Cumberland Drive. The city had requested this in 2025. We did take a boat ride through here again, and the depths seem pretty accurate. However, there's been a second request earlier this year. There's a particular section that seems to be shored up. This could also be
one. Yeah, there was a picture sent in during the winter, this past winter, when the tides were extremely low. That was, 2 foot lower than what the water usually is. We still think that it's accessible, but it's probably time to just get it freshened up. So, but we would just plan to survey the whole stretch just to make sure there aren't any others.
right. I think the site in question is like right in here.
Yeah, it's kind of right in the middle, right past the bend.
So, yeah.
I think there's a large drainage pipe in there.
It's near
that's
that
dumping
as well.
sediment in
Yeah.
there that's filling it up. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And then on that other end where it goes into Old Fort Bayou from the boat ramp, I know there's a point that comes out there that if it can be clipped back a little bit, I think that's another issue that people are having when they're trying to get in and out of there.
Yeah.
Depending on the tide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just gonna write that little note down.
Yeah.
All right, next one is Southland Street. Resident here had asked if the mouth of the canal leading out to the bayou could be dredged out. There's a bit of a drainage issue in this area. It's mostly damage from a hurricane back in 2023. There doesn't seem to be a boathouse or pier here, and the mouth likely has SAV in it. So this site is also questionable as to whether or not it fits our objective as far as dredging projects go. Now we're moving into Davis Bayou, Ridgeview Drive number 1. The bayous around this area were dredged and completed in May of 2025. The site was considered to be included in that project, but we decided to omit it because there was no apparent water access needs. However, there was a house that was sold in that neighborhood, and they had requested it to be dredged again. Drive number 2. We're not really recommending dredging here in this area. Again, it's completed in the same project in 2025, and the depths seem to be adequate. In Cavalier Circle, this site was included in the recent project, but access was blocked at the time of the project and was omitted. They're pretty shallow here as far as depths go, and could really benefit from dredging, but it would only serve one water access point. And West Edgewater Street in Simmons Bayou, the resident had requested the dredging in April 2025. The depths are very shallow in the north part of the alignment. The depths into the marina area also seem to be okay, but maintenance dredging here would be beneficial.
Yeah, definitely in the neighborhood section of it, those are very shallow, and I've heard from them multiple times. So I really think that would be a good candidate to add to a project.
And there's bigger boats coming into that marina now.
Yeah.
So, we need to get it a little deeper if we can, in that bay, in the bay area there where they maneuver and turn around.
Right.
But yeah, that's definitely, I've had multiple complaints on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this to me is kind of the most likely candidate to add to a new project. So.
Okay. Next is Seashore Avenue. This one is by Lake Mars. So due to the mouth of this bayou opening directly to the Mississippi Sound, Dredging benefits would be temporary, just due to the nature of the proximity. Long-term solutions would be probably a better idea, something to be explored.
But I think there's a property ownership there, because people keep asking me about it all the time, but I think that's privately owned. I think that
Dredging in this area. This would be a minor project, probably under a PO, and small specialized marine equipment in this area because it does get pretty tight. Similar in Bayou Cove, it's the same as above, done in the same project, and of similar size requirements.
Could I just skip this? This one makes sense. It does serve a boat launch and homes. Hickory Hills would be a good one too, since they just improved their marina area. We're making Blue Way improvements there too. And this one, Flagstone Street, Mr. Enid is near Dutch Bayou. It wasn't actually included in the Dutch Bayou project, so, but this lady has asked about it, so we thought it would be good to at least investigate it soon. And then this was reported by some residents here over the past few years. Probably not the whole alignment would need it, but at least some. And then this last one was brought to Brian last week. But I definitely want to look at the water depths in this area because I think they were probably already 4 and 5 feet deep there and may not need to be dredged, but it was requested, so we just wanted to bring it up.
Residential,
Come again?
what is a supervised youth residential placement facility?
Ms. Lawrence will have to explain that. That's just all we have on the application, so we really don't. We didn't get to hear the case because she didn't show up at the meeting. The planning commission denied it prior to hearing the case, so I don't have that either. She should.
Good morning, hi y'all. So the supervised independent, my name is Alicia Lawrence.
your address.
Sir?
Your address.
It's 2208 Paula Circle, Ocean Springs, Mississippi, 39564. So with the supervised independent living, I just won a government contract with the state of Mississippi for Mississippi Department of Child Protective Services. And we'll be placing kids that's in CPS custody into a facility. Well, right now we're planning to use these homes until we get a permanent facility. So I partner with the manager of these homes to use them temporarily. So it won't be something that's long-term. So we're looking for this temporarily until we find a facility to place the kids. Most kids right now that's in CPS custody, they're being placed in hotels, and CPS is trying to go away from that because it's not a safe environment. So we're looking to place these kids. They're adolescent kids. Not all of them are troubled. Some of them are just displaced because they've been taken out of the custody of their parents. Some of them do have mental health issues, and they all are required to be up under a licensed therapist. So we do have a licensed therapist.
Follow-up question, are we all on the same page as far as where the property lines are? Or where the property line is? And if we're not,
Greenhouses, wasn't it?
I mean, we're a little bit back in the same situation. If you have dispute over where the property line is.
We could be. I mean, we're confused on that, for sure. But my suggestion would be let Mr. Smithvig come up and explain his survey, and then if there's anybody that's against it and they have a different survey, just hear them out, because I've heard it 3 times and I'm still confused. Are y'all good with moving forward?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Yes, sir.
Mr. Smithvig?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm Mark Smedvig, live at 9209 Meadowlark Avenue, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Do you have any questions from the appeal that I filed that was submitted to you all?
So you did do the survey, correct?
There have been 2 surveys. They conflict. I've got an appointment tomorrow with an attorney, with Matt Lott, and that will be resolved. He's been very, very clear as to where the property line exists, which is, in essence, can I drive this presentation to show a different picture? Is that all right? I just want to show a different picture.
Of my pictures?
Yeah. Down to this one here, that'll be fine. If you see on the side of the carport there, the wooden fence, that is the neighbor's fence. And my attorney has sent documentation to the neighbor to let them know that is where the property line exists, regardless of what map, plat, or grid says. So I have a meeting with him tomorrow to pursue that due to the conflicting surveys. And I have moved the carport, as I was advised by the Planning Commission, as well as you all, to move it closer to the car.
I have one question. The survey that I saw in the file was performed by Clifford Crosby. Is that who you had engaged?
That's not who I engaged, no, but that's a survey. I figured for simplicity, just use a single survey. So that's what I was referencing.
Who engaged? Do you agree with that survey? Is that, we're talking about conflicting surveys. I'm not.
Yeah, that's why I'm hiring a lawyer to find out what is happening, because apparently the property that I bought was owned, the neighbor's property, my property, and the neighbor on the other side were all owned by one family. And they apparently divvied up things and changed things that wasn't made aware publicly. So that's having to be all sorted out, and that's why I've engaged with an attorney to get to the root and find out what the actual property lines are. From what Matt Lott has indicated to me, where that fence is the property line. He has subsequently tore it down, but the posts are still there. And what the attorney has said is that is where the property line exists.
Is he claiming that part of the carport is actually on his property?
Yes, but that's not true.
Right, and the fence it was not the property line. That's what's being claimed, that the fence was not
right.
Okay.
So how long does Matt Lott think that the proceedings on that side will take to be finalized where property line is defined?
I'll get that answer tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't have that answer today, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry.
I think we.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Wait till then, yeah.
if the fence is the property line, I could see one question for the board to resolve. If the fence is not the property line, then that's a whole nother issue, right? There's an encroachment on somebody else's property issue.
Even without the fence, the property line is clear. I am not encroaching on it right now after I had moved the carport, because I moved it almost 3 feet. So it's not encroaching on any previous or current property line.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the pictures with the tape measure of the ground.
Make that clear, he still is encroaching on the property line. He's got to be 10 foot off the property.
Correct,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's where I'm requesting the variation.
Well, I guess when I said encroaching, there's a question of whether you're too close to the property line or actually encroaching on the neighbor's property.
Right, and that's what this tape measure here is reflecting, how far I am from it. That's indicating 28 inches
Right, yeah. And I guess my only concern is if the board, it would almost, if they would be moving forward under the assumption that you're not encroaching on the neighbor's property, and it's an issue as to whether or not to grant I guess, the variance. And without knowing for sure, it's kind of all an assumption.
Yeah, I mean, if we know that he's not on the neighbor's property, then we can vote whether or not the variance is good. But if we don't know whether he's encroaching on it, like actually on the property, then we could variance wouldn't do any good.
I don't know how you can, hypothetically, if the neighbor is correct and that is encroaching on his property, I don't know how the board could grant a variance based on those circumstances. I don't know how long it would take Mr. Lott to
I can have that estimate tomorrow,
get
but I
this
don't have.
get this squared away, hopefully without going to court to get a judge to rule on that, but maybe he can give some insight and get this resolved.
That's why I have the meeting with him
Yes, sir.
tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. And put it back on for next month.
Right.
Is enough on that?
But-
I mean, I guess we could.
What's that?
Is a month long? I mean, is that gonna be resolved?
I don't know. Mr. Ketchot, what's your recommendation on, do we try to,
Well, all we have to go off is a survey that was submitted there.
right, do we postpone it until we get more clarity? Of course, you'd have to send out notice of when we would bring it back up for,
If we tabled it till next month, of course, we'd have to resend out notices for this. And of course, I'm sure the neighbor next door is not.
yeah, right. Okay,
Let the neighbors speak.
right. Can we have a word from the neighbor to see what the neighbor's
Let's
position
hear
is?
from him. then we'll-
Yeah, let's see what the neighbor, come up against it.
Yes, I'd like to correct something that's been said very many times here about competing, I'm sorry. William Buchanan, 9205 Meadowlark Avenue, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. There are no competing surveys. The surveys validate each other. I know my surveyor knows the person who surveyed his land. It's North Bay Survey, owned by Mr. Durbin. He put his survey markers exactly on top of where my surveyor put his survey markers. I also have a video showing where that is, and it's like 2 inches from the bottom of his building is where the survey line is. And I put both stakes on my side of the property markers, which the original property marker for that property is in the front of the yard between my property and his property. And that's the original one, and it was validated by both surveys, which is why he's not showing you his survey, is because it validates the other survey. So there really is no property dispute. No one's been to court. We have no court orders. There's nothing telling us that we don't own our land. So I would hope that you would notice that somebody's not being very truthful here and does not wish to accept reality. Now, would you like to see that video?
I guess
It
I'd like
shows
to
the actual
just-
property,
just-
physical
just for-
property markers.
Just for clarification,
Yes,
is that concrete, are you saying it's on your property?
Some of it is, yes. The pink markers. Not mine.
Yeah, and I understand the fence is not necessarily.
It's not. My neighbor has a fence that goes right off the edge of his house. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know the fence is not actually
No, it's not
necessarily always the delineation of a property line, because somebody could set it back from their property, but I think that,
My neighbor's is set back 10 feet.
before the board can make a decision, I think we've got to know where we're measuring from.
Yeah. You know it's within the 10 feet, and you know it's a fire hazard according to the fire marshal. You should, without any further ado, just say no.
I'm saying, but I don't think, if that is not on your property at all, and it's just a matter of.
The eaves are.
I'm sorry?
The eaves are over the property line, I can show you that.
But,
Because it's only 2 inches at the bottom, and the eaves overhang like 10 inches, so it's on our property.
right, but I'm understanding you're saying that part of that concrete is on your property.
That's true.
And if that's the case, then I don't see how the board can vote to grant any type of a variance, with regard to the 10-foot rule, right? Because you're saying part of it's on your property. I don't think they can consider that. It's a whole nother issue.
I'm not talking about the concrete, I'm talking about the building.
But I'm talking about the concrete, I understand.
Why? I don't understand.
You're saying that some of that concrete's on your property?
It is.
I think
Okay.
what he's saying
There's
is,
2 surveys that say the property
variance.
line goes right down that property, that concrete.
Do what?
I was saying what he's saying is the board can deny the variance, no matter whether, it's still going to be a variance.
I think that's correct. I think that's correct, but all I'm saying is, without everybody being on the same page, they could, but you can't consider it. Are we talking about
You got 10 feet.
2 feet, 3 feet, 5 feet?
Well, we're literally on the same page. There's only been one survey submitted before the board, mine. He has not submitted a survey.
Well, he's saying he's going to do something tomorrow. How can this
But how can this-
be here for us hearing this when the facts aren't even available?
The facts are available.
I mean,
He won't submit his survey.
no, how come
About 10 feet, though.
planning scheduled this with such disparity in the information?
We have all the information that was provided during the hearing. Now, what Mr. Smedvig is doing tomorrow, I have no idea. We don't have anything to do with that. But all the information that was submitted for the planning commission hearing is in the file. And this is the 3rd time we've done this. And I can tell you right now, there's not going to be a good outcome to this period. Because there's a lot of bad blood between the 2 neighbors. They've been arrested. It's been a huge deal.
He came on my property and pointed a gun at me.
My suggestion would be just for the board to deny it. It's not going to meet the setback requirements regardless. Neither side is going to be happy. So my suggestion would be for the board to deny it and have him remove it, unfortunately. I hate it, but they're not going to be able to.
If we deny it, can it be brought back forth with new information?
Sure. I mean, we can't deny them an application, for planning commission, absolutely. But there again, there's not going to be a good outcome to this if he's a half inch, from meeting 10 feet. So I promise you, it's bad.
And there's absolutely no way he can ever meet the 10-foot.
We'll need to make a
So
motion.
let me clarify something. We've allowed variances before, okay? 10 foot is 10 foot, but we've allowed 2-foot variances before. So you can
I
stop
understand, sir.
talking about the 10 foot because we've allowed other variances before.
Well, I understand that,
So
sir.
on an outside structure that's in the backyard,
I understand
that's not heated or cooled, okay? It's like the flood zone. There's a lot of things you can do in a flood zone as long as you don't heat and cool it.
It's also like a fire easement, according to the fire marshal.
Yeah, that's
You
in
don't
a
take much stock
backyard.
in the fire marshal? Well, he overtalked
Look,
me.
I'm not gonna argue either because I'm a win. So best thing to do is go ahead and sit down. So best thing to do is go and sit down before you get further and deeper than what you need to be.
Let's go ahead and just make a motion to deny.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to deny. And Mark, I think I've said this before, you're gonna have to get a little bit more, information on this before you bring it back. That means you're gonna have to pay for a survey, whether you want to or not. You're gonna have to pay for one. And then whatever you and your attorney decide, that y'all work this property thing out before you come back is what I would say, okay? But I'm gonna make a motion to deny it, and let's start over again.
Got a motion to deny. Get a second by Mr. Commerce. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Motion to deny. Thank you.
May I ask a question for a point of order?
Sure.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, it's over.
Is it possible for somebody who isn't a homeowner, which this individual is not?
We're not gonna get into
Right.
that. Okay, this is not the place to get
Right.
into that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure he's gonna wanna use this,
That's an absolute mess, right?
We ready to move on? Okay. The next item we have was an application for a zone change, RZON-01-2026-00006. And this was a request to change the zoning from an R1 property to a single-family residential to C2 community commercial. This property is not located in a flood zone. Of course, the applicant's comments were that the property is located on North Washington, which is a commercial corridor, and it will provide economic development and public safety, and there's an increase of commercialization in the area, especially on an adjacent parcel. We received several letters of opposition, and 5 people spoke in opposition in the Planning Commission meeting. And in 2020, of course, this was denied by the Planning Commission and the board also. And 2024, it was approved by the Planning Commission and overturned and denied by the board. And this is the 3rd time, and I believe Mr. Scruggs is here to present his. I'm sorry, no, Ms. Hall, Tanya Hall? Hasbrook, I'm sorry. She's here to present her appeal. Do you need the? Do you need the? Okay, and do you need the computer here? Use it? Okay. I may have a map if you're looking for a map though. Yes, ma'am, that's mine. I'll close that out.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Tanya Hasbrook, and I'm here representing Joellen McLean and Tommy Broadnex in this appeal. I've got a number of exhibits here, so if you give me just a moment, please. As Mr. Catchot indicated, that we are appealing the approval of the Planning Commission for the rezoning of the lot. Do you all have the exhibits from the Planning Commission hearing?
I don't have them.
You don't have them, okay. All right, then.
They have a copy of the packet.
They have a copy of the packet?
Yeah, that's.
No, this stuff is, I just wanted to see if you had them, because there are certain things I'll be referring to that have to do with exhibits that are in the packet. But anyhow, that applicant's property is 5809 Washington Avenue. Joellen McLean has an adjoining property at 5804.
What changes have occurred since this board denied the application last time?
We'll read it out to you in just a
Okay.
second. We'll pull it up.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, that was just, I want that, if we can give that to the board at some point, that'd be good.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I think Mr. Fonder wants to speak too. Let him go ahead and speak, and then I'll read that.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying my best not to repeat things. Did his report get in the record?
Yeah, well, it is, yeah.
Okay, it is.
All right.
I got a few things that I'd like to get into the record. First of all, I'm Michael Fonder. Thank y'all for letting me talk. I do appreciate it. Thank y'all for what y'all do. First of all, I'd like to put her deed in the record. It's just her deed, just to
in case we need it later. Also, the zoning change ordinance, just in case we may need it later. I got a packet here that y'all can take it home and have pleasurable reading by your bedside, but it's got some things in it that y'all might find interesting.
Got one for them, return. Thanks, sir.
And I'm not gonna, try not to cover things twice, because I know y'all got things to do and things to work on. First of all, Miss Wynn is here today. If you could just raise your hand, Miss Wynn. She's here. She lives at 6804 Orchard Road in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, which is actually, that's the address. It's actually it's in the county. It's in the Gulf Hills area. And her house is in a residential area. It's in a subdivision, and it backs up to this same commercial corridor. So she lives there. She likes living there. The commercial corridor doesn't bother her. It's probably approximately a mile from the subject property. I'd just like to say that and when you look at the map of the residential areas on each side of this commercial corridor, most all of those properties have private covenants on them that even if this board were to change that to commercial, they can't build anything commercial there because there's private covenants there. So those properties are, most all of those properties are connected because of the subdivision covenants, which are private covenants. This area has changed so much when you drive through there, and I read through there multiple times after I was hired to represent Ms. Wynn. You'll even see that there's houses that were residential houses that are no longer houses. They've put up businesses, they put up signs in front of a house, and they're running businesses out of places that were prior houses. And that's basically from the bayou all the way up to the interstate almost. The commercial corridor is it's not a future threat. It is an accomplished fact. It's here. You've got basically 5 lanes. You got 4 lanes with a turning lane. Y'all, I know every one of y'all ridden up and down there multiple times, and all of y'all were young like me and grew up here. Back in the 90s, you ride up and down there. There was houses and agriculture. There was a road running from the Fort Bayou Bridge north. Now we got Interstate 10, which is probably one of the busiest interstates in the state of Mississippi. We got Highway 90, which is one of the busiest state highways in Mississippi. We got Highway 609, AKA Washington Avenue. You got about 5 lanes there. Unbelievable amount of traffic. What could end up happening, what's going to end up happening if it doesn't change commercial, it's going to be a property, you're going to force Ms. Wynn or her successors in title to have a residence there. Well, nobody's going to want to live there because you're on the busiest highway, one of the busiest highways in South Mississippi. And that's not her fault. That highway was built to be a commercial corridor to connect the interstate to Fort Bayou Bridge and Highway 90. The traffic count, as you've seen, is unbelievable. And what ends up happening is when you put her in a sandwich pickle situation between a medical marijuana dispensary and one of the biggest highways in the state of Mississippi, state highways. So then what happens? Well, the property value doesn't go up. It doesn't go up at all. Nobody wants to live there. You end up with a blighted property because nobody wants to pour a lot of money into something where your property values won't go up. There is a public need. There's a public need for taxation. We need taxes. We got to build roads. We got to have schools. We got to do what y'all do. the value of the property will go up substantially if that's a commercial business, and it's naturally where a commercial business needs to go. The property on Ridge Road, these folks, it's not going to affect their traffic count. If Miss Wynn's property is a commercial business, they're going to get there on 609, Highway 609. They're not going to go down Ridge Road because there's no access down Ridge Road. There's no ingress and egress at all. It's not going to affect their traffic. It's naturally going to have the same amount of traffic. I can't imagine there's going to be an appreciable change in the amount of traffic because you got one more commercial business there instead of, I don't know how many you got there, maybe 50 or more from Highway 90 to I-10. There's definitely a change. Also, you got agriculture and residential where they've literally turned houses into businesses. And if you look along that corridor, and I also wanted to get in the record, I'm going to go ahead and hand you everything to get in the record there. I printed out in closer detail. Well, here, we'll take it up first. This is all that red dirt right there is where they're going to build that big parking lot for that medical dispensary, which is a legal business. However, she's stuck now living right beside it or having a residential lot that's there. It doesn't make sense. All of these houses back here have access to Ridge Road. And everybody on Washington Avenue is going to be, almost everybody, commercial. And several that are still deemed R1, if you look at what they actually are, there's some churches up through there. Because, you know, you can have R1, or you can have church, or I think that pre-existed the comprehensive plan and was grandfathered in. But I got and put in the record all of the printouts running from Fort Bayou all the way to I-10. And I think you'll see that corridor is basically all commercial. And if it's not, there may be a few with subdivision covenants there. Again, you got the medical dispensary, a storage complex, boat storage, all up and down here, right beside her. It's not going to be a place where people are going to, desirable place to live. If she faced Ridge Road, that would be different. We wouldn't be standing here today because she'd be in the same boat. The folks facing Ridge Road, that's their ingress and egress. That's where they live. That's what they see. That's what they deal with. Just a few more points and I'm going to sit down or I can answer any questions. The properties in this area, I think my title company closes, I don't know, about 30 closings a month. And let me tell you, this is a hot area. You talk about need. This is a hot area. This is needed. If it's commercial, it'll sell quick and there'll be a business there. Obviously, the market controls the need. There's a need there. It's going to be hard to find somebody who wants to live right there. I don't want to live right there. Not with the medical bit, the marijuana next door, the storage building, the high traffic counts. You got to fence yourself in. You can't have a regular neighborhood like they do on Ridge Road. It's not going to affect them. She's going to be a good neighbor. She already went out and spent all the money. If you ride all the way around it, and she'll agree to a reasonable buffer to make sure that they're buffered. She doesn't want to harm her neighbors. She has no gripe with her neighbors whatsoever. Like I said, Mr. Scruggs said, it's almost the last house with any entrance on Highway 609. It's just a matter of time before those other folks ask if they don't have a subdivision covenant. A lot of them have subdivision covenants. They'd have to change the whole covenant, file a lawsuit, go through all that process, name everybody that has an interest in that subdivision in order to do that. I think I mentioned that you're gonna, if we don't change this, it's gonna cause her to have a property that's unmarketable, that's basically unusable unless you charge low rent to medical marijuana. She didn't ask for that. It's a law. It was done. It's going to be there, and the traffic's going to be there. And there's zero traffic infiltration on Ridge Road from making this commercial. It will not spill any traffic over into Ridge Road. It's not going to. It's not going to do that. There's no appreciable change in the traffic. I feel like it would be arbitrary and capricious if the whole commercial corridor's changed and then she's stuck with residential property that she can't do much of anything with. And I feel like it would be a bad mistake to do that. I think if there's any situation that deserves a change, I feel like this is the situation. I'll be glad to answer anybody's questions if you have.
I've got a question or two. On a handout we had earlier, I tried to count, and I saw C2, and I counted 8 pieces of property that were C2. And then C1, on that handout that's somewhere down there, there were C1, I counted 12 pieces. I asked Brian to put up on the screen for everyone, on the left side, all of the red is C2. C1, I'm sorry. On the right, the pink ones are C2. Brian, can you scroll that down a little bit? C1. Maybe I'm backward, but the red and the pink are commercial. Now here is going up Washington more towards I-10, and you see basically nothing but commercial. And you know, my reaction to that is the cat is out of the bag. That Washington Avenue is commercial. And I just wanted everyone to get the impact. Mr. Fondren attempted to do that on the 8.5 by 11 pictures that he gave us, but you know, it's a done deal as far as I can see, and I think we need to recognize that.
Yes, sir. And most all of these R1s and R1As, and I qualify that with the word most all, but most all of those have protected covenants to protect those properties from commercialization.
Let me add in also, the one that is just north of Pine Road, that's R1A, that's a church.
Yeah. That's
non-residential. So it is R1A, but it's non-residential in nature.
Okay. And it's a big parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask one thing?
Go ahead.
With Mr. Scruggs or Mr. Fowler, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to make sure that we're following our rules, and I think we are. I'll read from Article 10, Planning Commission Responsibilities. The Planning Department shall have the right, not the obligation, the right to refuse to accept a reapplication for the same or similar variance, exception or change of zoning after application has been heard and denied or granted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, unless there's a substantial change in 1, the proposed use or the plans for the use, 2, the circumstances or the conditions affecting the property, or 3, a combination of those 2 factors. Any such reapplication shall be accompanied by an affidavit showing the substantial change upon which such reapplication is based. Now, with that being said, I think that the Planning Commission has the right to accept it. It's on them. It doesn't say the board has to do one thing or another, but the Planning Commission has that right, and they accepted this reapplication. But I kind of go back and say, just for the board's sake, this was denied by the Planning Commission last year, denied by the board last year, and just so we're clear, and I'm not saying that you have to necessarily follow this, but what changes have there been, since it was denied before? Again, I don't think this is binding necessarily on the board. I think this is a planning commission right. But just so we have it all out on the table as y'all deliberate and think about what to do.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the CO for the medical dispensary should be coming out soon. And that, when you look at that overhead that I gave to y'all, a copy of that basically is gonna be a building and all parking lot, it looks like. I think that's a major change when that comes up. Also, it's my understanding, I didn't represent Ms. Nguyen then, and I don't believe Mr. Scruggs did, but it's my understanding that she filed the change of application without any representation, and that this stuff is very complicated. What y'all do is not easy. y'all gotta wrestle with it, and it's complicated topics. And I think that Mr. Scruggs has shown and met it with clear and convincing evidence, and I think it would be arbitrary and capricious if we don't grant the change, because now she's stuck with basically a property that's got not much use whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marcus?
Any questions before we move forward with who may be for it and who may be against it? Okay, you good for that? So, you want to ask who may be for it?
Yeah.
For the application?
Anyone here for it, for the application? Anyone against the application? You can come up, state your name.
Come up one at a time and give your name and address for the record, please.
I made sure all my lights were off.
Good morning. My name, excuse me, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Jeremy Dehart. I'm at 5812 Ridge Road. So 2 houses down from Ms. McClellan, who filed the appeal. I'm glad there's been so much talk about this cannabis dispensary, because that is literally my backyard now. And so the case that they've kind of made as to why they should be able to rezone their property is kind of the same case I was going to make against it. So if you can look at this map, that bottommost C2 there, that's the red, that's the cannabis dispensary. Right behind it is my property. So that R1 that's literally my house. And so Ms. Nguyen's property is basically catty corner to that. So the farthest left corner of that is my house. And so my property, access from Ridge Road, I've got a 2-story house, I've got 3 kids. My driveway basically goes to the back of my house into that corner. And so we live a large portion of our lives coming in and out of our house right where that now cannabis dispensary is going to be, and where they want to apply for another commercial property is going to be. And so my kid's bedroom at a 2-story house looks right down into Ms. Nguyen's property. I can attest to this. This privacy fence they put up has no bearing on that. I can see right into that property from my kitchen window, let alone my 2nd story of my 2-story house. And so I just want to speak to the character of the neighborhood side, because as a property owner in Gulf Hills, I bought my property with the understanding, do I love that there's a cannabis dispensary and I've got a big gaping hole to Washington Avenue now? No, I don't. But I also knew that that was a commercial property. And so that being said, when I bought my house 5 years ago, there was a 0% chance, as the point they just made, that this would be a medical cannabis dispensary. So I'm surprised by that as anybody, but I knew it was a commercial lot. And so I bought my residential property knowing that, also with the idea that that property, Ms. Nguyen's property, was a residential property. And so that's the point I want to make to the character of the neighborhood, that all of us that border her property on the back side, we all had the understanding that this is also residential. And so that affects us. So they're kind of talking about us as residents in the abstract, and it doesn't affect traffic and all that. But I can attest, I'm going to look right down in this property whatever it would be as commercial property, and I would, right where my kids get out of the car and play, there's a basketball hoop right out there, it's right next to it, zero buffer at all. And so this is going to directly impact me as a resident. So I just want to reiterate that, and also the case, you know, this was brought before the board last year, where basically it was, the quote was, when this was denied, was that we have to protect our residents somewhere, and is this the point that we're going to do it? Because you can make that case all the way down. They make theirs commercial. Now I've got 3 commercial properties bordering me. Now I don't really want my property to be a residential anymore. Maybe I want to make my commercial, and so where does it stop? And so at some point you have to protect the residents where they are. So I just ask that you please consider all that. Thank you.
I got a question. That 508,
yes,
the house 508, what is that next door to you then?
Next door to me?
Yeah, the 508.
I'm at 5812.
Right. What's the next door to you? The next property right there?
To the south, that's also a residential property. It is currently vacant. It's been on the market for 6 months, and they have not been able to sell it.
Okay. Thank you.
Marcus, I have a question too on, like, you know, we had the map of the neighborhoods.
Yes, sir.
There's always a discussion on who defines the neighborhood in question. Isn't that the body that is determining whether it occurs, not
Yes,
the
sir.
developer?
It is. There's no definition for neighborhood. That's determined by the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that map would be arbitrary.
Correct. Yes, sir.
If you remember, Mr. Ross, back on the Marcellus case, there was kind of a big discussion about what is the neighborhood? Is it that one block, or do you expand the aperture a little bit, look further down the road, across the road? I think that is something for the Board of Supervisors to determine, kind of exactly what the neighborhood is as you progress through the debate of this.
And the problem in this area that you run into, as you move south, it gets narrower. There's less land between 609 and Ridge Road. And the further down you get, the more a change in zoning is going to impact the residential just next to it, because it's a narrower piece of property as you get further down. I mean, by the time you get to 5720 Ridge Road, there is no room between the house in Ridge and the highway, really. So you've really, this is like a line of demarcation where you are changing to a point where you've got to decide, do you want that whole peninsula basically to be commercial, or do you want to stop it where it is? Because if you go further down, you've essentially made it to where the whole peninsula is going to have to turn. Because everyone next to it is going to have the same case. And when Miss Wynn bought that property, did she know it was zoned residential?
I would assume so.
And she bought it in like what year?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I was just trying to figure if she had a reason, if she knew. I mean, there's a big difference if I own that property for 50 years and all these things built up around it versus if I buy it now knowing that something's there.
Right. Come up, man. You come on up, man.
Mr. Ross, can I say something real quick on you?
You can speak again. You said it was after.
Okay. I was just going to point out one thing he really heard what he just said.
Hi, I'm Joellen McLean. I live at 5804 Ridge Road. 5804 Ridge Road is directly next to the Wynn property. Now, Miss Wynn bought that property, I think it was in 2021, I believe. Well, anyway, she bought it in December. And in March, they started construction over there and whatever. Well, we've already discussed that in a prior meeting. But the fact of the matter is, they were talking about, I changed my address. I did not change anything. When I was fronting Washington Avenue years ago, my address was 5805 Washington Avenue. When the road went through, we did not have access. We built a fence there. There's no way to go down that hill onto Washington Avenue. They discussed destroying my house, demolishing it or whatever. I lived in a 55-year-old wood frame house, a Jim Walter type house. The house was in disarray. And then my husband and I had drawn plans to build a new home because I could touch the fence and I could touch the house, the old house. So we drew plans up to build a new home, and that was in about 2012 maybe. Anyway, my husband got sick. He got cancer. Well, that was put on hold. So 3 days before he died in 2017, Tommy Broadnax, my brother-in-law, he promised him that he would build a house that I live in now. And I told Tommy that I could move or I could stay. And I told him, I said, Tommy, this is where my home is. My mother-in-law bought the property 69 years ago. And this is my home. It's where I live. So we built my home, and instead of facing the backyard, naturally you're going to turn it to what is now your front yard, your access, which is on Ridge Road, and that is 5804 Ridge Road. So that's where that confusion came in. But I feel safe, even though the highway, the corridor, or whatever they want to call it, is out there. I feel safe in my home. However, 12 feet from me to Mr. Morris is going to be a commercial property. I don't know what they're going to put there. My living room is there. My kitchen is there. 12 feet. I can hear them talking. I can hear them breathing or sneezing or whatever, just 12 feet from my home. At my age, I am not going anywhere. I want to live in my home, but I do not want to live next to a commercial property that they realized was commercial when they purchased it. And now they want to flip it and make it, it was residential when they purchased it, I'm sorry. And now they want to flip it and make it commercial, interfering with my neighbors that have all lived in our neighborhood for at least 35 years. I've been there 48 years, I think. So you can't just go in and turn the apple cart over on all the neighbors that live there for something that you choose that you want to have. And so I would appreciate your consideration on keeping this residential as it was purchased. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? So your driveway is really facing which way you on Ridge Road?
My driveway now faces Ridge Road.
Okay, but it used to face Washington.
It used to face Washington. That's the way I came in and out. But when the highway was put through there, if you go there, it's a huge hill. I'm on a huge hill. And there's no way that I could have built a driveway out, or I probably would have just kept it that way and, had my house facing that way, the way you go in and out,
Right.
But anyway, that's how that happened.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Anyone else against it?
You want to speak, Mr. Problem? You want to speak? No. You good? Anybody else against that wants to speak? Four. I think Ms. Hasbro's got something to do she wants to say.
It's just real quick. Mr. Ross pointed out about previously being turned on. This is actually the third attempt to have it rezoned. It's been turned down twice, and this is the third time. So I just wanted to point that out for the record.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference if someone buys something with intent of changing it versus if they've had it forever and now they're getting pushed out. Like a rezone in that case is a little bit more, there's a difference to that.
Right, and I would submit that Mr. Nguyen purchased it knowing it was residential, and then with the intent, because as soon as she was there, they moved the Hurley Hibachi truck in there. Ms. Nguyen actually tried to buy property or rent it from Joe Ellen to drive through to Ridge Road with the Hurley Hibachi truck, and was told that she couldn't do it. And so she knew that it was residential and that they tried to make it commercial. There was a question about some vent hoods and whether they were doing some cooking there. I think Mr. Catchot said they went out, but they could never find them, doing anything with it. And they eventually took those vent hoods down. And then at the hearing, before the Planning Commission, she said that they got rid of the business, but she actually, or her boyfriend, who has Hurley Hibachi Catering, in February of 2025, right after the hearing in January of 2025, he redid with the Secretary of State to start Hurley Hibachi again. And so, and I do have that, I can make that part of the record too. It's from the Secretary of State showing it was right after the Planning Commission's hearing, that where they said they got rid of everything, and then they said that, then they went to the Secretary of State and got it reissued, so.
Thank you. Anybody else here for you?
I think we've done for and against. Is it anything else you need to hear, that you need to hear from anyone?
Mr. Morris, can I just go over with, just real quick, what the law is as y'all debate,
Yes.
make your decision? Just so we're clear, and I know I'm probably repeating myself, but rezones happen all the time. The law makes it intentionally a little bit difficult to do for stability and a lot of different reasons. But the applicant has to prove by clear and convincing evidence that there's been a change in the character of the neighborhood to such an extent to justify rezoning. And when you talk about the neighborhood, like Mr. Ross said, it's kind of what the board wants the neighborhood to look like, what you want the neighborhood to be, and what you define the neighborhood. And there has to be a public need, and both of those have to be proven. And the board can take into account those individuals that are for it and those individuals that are against it. And you can also take into account your own knowledge of the area and what that area looks like. So with that being said, that's kind of the law. Those are the parameters. And then from there, you five gentlemen have the leeway to make a decision within those parameters what you think.
Or was there a mistake in the original zone?
Or was there a mistake, which I don't think has been alleged. So those are the parameters you have to work with. Other than that, the law gives you a lot of discretion on what you may want to do, and as long as you don't go outside those parameters. And when there's a debate, and a legitimate debate as to whether or not something should or should not be rezoned, then the appellate courts would normally uphold that. So.
Anyone else? Anything else we need to do? Do we make a vote for this?
The appeal was to overturn the planning commission.
I'm sorry?
The appeal is based on
Number 7.
overturning, right?
Right, the planning commission voted to approve the rezone request.
Planning commission
Right.
approved.
So
In 2024, I believe it was that the date of that?
it was about a year ago that we had this last time.
Planning commission approved it, and the
Right.
board overturned that approval.
I think the planning commission a year ago voted 4-3 to deny, I believe.
2024 was approved by the planning commission, appealed, and overturned by the board.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep it.
Yeah.
I thought, one second.
We voted to overturn it last time.
But it was
I
approved.
thought that the
We had in
Board
our
of
notes.
Supervisors upheld the planning commission's vote to deny it.
The board denied, for sure, so. And that could be the case. I'm looking at the old notes there.
What does the resolutions or the order say?
This says it made a motion to uphold the the commission's decision denying the requested zone change.
Right, so they denied it
So
last
they
time.
did-
and we
last time
upheld
they
that
denied
last
it, the
time.
board affirmed that denial.
Yeah.
And this time they approved it.
This time they approved it, and it was up to the planning commission whether or not to accept it. They had that right to accept it, or they could have rejected it. It was their call as to whether or not there had been changes such to justify the refiling and the request for rezone.
Okay.
So we get a motion to uphold the board and commission.
I'll make a motion to overturn the planning commission.
Got it.
What is
Motion
the
by
motion?
Mr. Ross, second by Mr. Bozard.
What is the motion? I didn't hear it.
To overturn the planning commission and
Okay, to deny.
and
Okay.
deny the rezone.
Okay. Okay.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
I oppose.
You might want to take a vote.
Yeah, can I take a vote? Mr. Bozard, you for it?
Aye.
Mr. Ross? I deny. Nay?
I'm denying. Okay. Nay.
3-2. The motion passes.
4-1?
Wait,
Three,
three
yeah.
to two? Is that right? Three to
Right.
two?
Mr. Cummings,
Well,
what
it was
was?
4-1. I went along with Troy and Randy.
Okay, with Troy. Okay,
Okay.
so it's denied.
So what was the decision?
It's
It was
denied.
overturned?
Mm-hmm.
The decision was overturned by the board, so, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, take your break. We get a 5-minute break and we'll.
Sure.
Yeah, we take a little 5-minute break and come right back.
I knew I liked you.
E-02-2026-00018, and this was a request to allow the reestablishment of a church in an existing building to provide transitional housing for drug court clients and, people exiting inpatient addiction treatment facilities. The property is zoned A1. It's on Highway 613. The applicant's comments were, that he's already operating a facility similar to this here in Pascagoula, and that he's had no issues with that facility. And of course, we received several letters of opposition, and we had a lot of people show up at Planning Commission to speak against it also. And Ricky Charlton was the applicant. I believe Mr. Cronier is here to present the appeal. The Planning Commission approved this, so Mr. Cronier is going to represent the appeal.
I should say good afternoon. Greg Cronier, 9235 Highway 613. I've got a couple of houses right across the street. Mr. Gene Bodden is the person that lives on Coventry, and he's the one that paid the $300, so I think I should give his concerns the most priority here, and I'd like to read them to you. We're here today to appeal the Planning Commission ruling on a special exemption in a A1 zoning district. The issue is not with reestablishing the church, it is with establishing a halfway house in a neighborhood that is opposed to the idea. Not one person from the neighborhood has come forward to support this happening. The majority say no. What has happened to the idea that majority rules? That's a question. Here are some points to consider. Mr. Bond is concerned about him being successful there with only 15 to 20 people to help pay the bills. The church is vacant now because they could not pay the bills. 15 to 20 people cannot support this church, and the addition of two very small churches won't be able to pay the bills also. Where is the money for maintenance and upkeep and construction for renovations to make this livable to accommodate 15 to 20 people? Where are the jobs available in this area and transportation to and from work? Walking Highway 613 is dangerous. 2 people have been killed within the last year, I think, walking down Highway 613. What will clients do if they have a 9 o'clock curfew, walk the dangerous highway? In the research we have done, it says we'll lose about 3 to 4% in our property values if this is allowed. Look at the fact that Pascagoula is denying or doing away with this kind of nonprofit facility, and why. The neighborhood is not in favor of any type of trial period, which the Planning Commission voted on a 6-month review. And we're really not sure how that would work. If I was doing this, I wouldn't want to invest time and money and then come back in 6 months and be denied. So I think that's non-workable. The concentration of services at this one facility is a concern. In the neighborhood, it feels like that they would bear the weight of disproportionately of social services. Conclusion, I'd like y'all to consider a couple things. One is the tax-paying residents who actually live in the neighborhood don't want a facility like this in their neighborhood. And the second thing, the rezoning. It's a pretty drastic rezone change from R1A to essentially multifamily and the things that go along with it. We ask that you, the residents of Spring Acres, ask that you deny this application. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Corner.
Oh, I have 106 signatures and some letters, yes. And most of those are residents, if not all residents of Spring Acres.
Okay.
Thank you.
And this is a special exception, not a zone change.
So
So does the building have power on right now, or is it something they'd have to go through retrofitting and get that approved and turned back on again?
We can ask Mr. Charlton. I think they were going to use it as a church and this halfway house, so. Mr. Charlton? You want to come on up?
I'd like to ask the board if my wife could speak, and then I'll speak last.
Come on.
Would that be fine?
You can. Yeah, name and address.
Good morning. Let me get my glasses on. My name is Lisa Charlton, and I am the co-director and co-founder of Stillwaters. After hearing our mission and purpose for wanting this property as well as those opposing it, the Planning Commission voted 3-2 in favor of approving the special exception for the 4 Mile Creek property. The burden to appeal this decision is now placed on those opposing this board's approval of the special exception. I went back and watched the coverage that WLOX did, and these are quotes from 4 of those opposing this effort by Stillwaters. Number 1, quote, "We have had problems with drugs and Escataba as a whole. This statement has nothing to do with Stillwaters. Rather, it is a common fact in many neighborhoods and cities across our nation. So much so that President Trump has launched the Great American Recovery Initiative, and its very focus is faith-based organizations like Stillwaters." Number 2, quote, "You want to bring drug trafficking, people that are transitioning back into the world. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. This statement against Stillwaters is completely unfounded, and it's based on pure speculation. In all of our 20 years of doing this, and we have been registered as a 501c3 nonprofit charity since 2006. That's how long we've been doing this. And in all of our 20 years of doing it, not one of our clients has ever trafficked drugs out of our facility. Most of our clients are monitored by drug court, probation, and they are screened prior to coming in. We also maintain a daily presence with our clients. Our office is located right in our current transition home. It is true you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. However, those who do drink, and there are many, there have been many, see their lives restored, their families healed, and the possibility of a whole new life available to them. It becomes self-evident within the first week or two, any clients who are not ready to comply with the structure and program of Stillwaters, and they are dismissed immediately, as we are very protective of those who are in our program, and they're doing everything they can to succeed. Number 3, quote, "I don't have a problem with the church coming in. It's the transitional house that's the problem." I was really kind of taken back by this statement because, first of all, what is the church? Is it just a building, or are we not the hands and feet of Jesus Christ? Did he not say that he came for the sick and not the well? Did he not say, "Whatever you do for the least of these, you've done for me"? Our transitional house is not the problem. The problem is there's practically no one in or out of the church willing and able to address the needs of those who are trying to restore their lives from the grip of addiction. These people are not some sort of hopeless plague on our society. They are human beings who are your sons, your daughters, your nieces, your nephews, your relatives, your neighbors. And we are not some fly-by-night organization. We have established ourselves as servants of God with a mission and a purpose that we have remained committed to. 4, what happens when our worst fears come to light? I would like to state that we have invited all of these people to come and see our facility, and we even had an open house, and not one of them was willing to come and see what it is we do. The fears are understandable, but the obstinance in refusing to dispel those fears is very close-minded and unfair to what we do. Again, we can present 20 years of evidence-based outcomes from our program. We are the first phone call that Jackson County Drug Court makes when they are seeking a place for one of their clients. I don't think they would be utilizing Still Waters as a resource if we did not uphold standards of a reputable facility. There are simply no facts to support those that are opposing this effort. Acquiring this property would open the door for so many others seeking help, and I cannot tell you the number of phone calls I have to turn away every day. There are no other places in Jackson County that offer the structure and the opportunity that Still Waters brings. I also understand the politics that are involved. There are votes at stake, and that's just the way it is. Regardless of the outcome, we're going to just continue doing what we have done, and God will open the doors for us. You know, I'm not here to fight anybody or oppose anything. We're just here to walk this out and see it through. We do not bring problems, we offer a solution to this tragic and growing plague that is on our society. I'd like to reiterate that we are very respectful and mindful of our neighbors. In all the 20 years we've been doing this, we have not had one complaint. We are simply asking that a fair and equitable decision be made based on facts and not prejudiced speculation. Again, not one of those people or groups of people was willing to come and see what Stillwater. We are very transparent. Everything we do is right out in the open. I'd like to thank this board so much for the time and the consideration that y'all have given to this matter. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll speak at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I'll speak at the end.
This is the end.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just- Okay, you're the last one. I'm the last one, okay.
All right, I'm gonna read this right here. And this is from President Trump, the new policy regarding the Great American Recovery Initiative, that faith-based entities, community organizations, and houses of worship have tremendous ability to serve individuals, families, and communities through means that are different from those of government, with a capacity and effectiveness that often exceeds that of the government. The efforts of faith-based entities, community organizations, and houses of worship are essential to strengthening families and revitalizing communities. The purpose and policy, the disease of addiction, also known as substance use disorder, is a crisis that touches families in every community, neighborhood in our nation. 48 million Americans, or nearly 20% of our nation's population, suffer from addiction. And my administration will continue to respond to a crisis of this scale with the attention it deserves. Despite significant investment of resources, addiction recovery efforts remain fragmented. The framework for addiction treatment should parallel that of other chronic diseases, utilizing evidence-based care, scientific advancement, continuous support, and community connection. My administration will drive a new national response to the disease of addiction that will create stronger coordination across government, the healthcare sector, faith-based communities, and the private sector in order to save lives, restore families, strengthen our communities, and build our great American recovery. And we have talked to these people in Washington, and they've responded to us. We're continuing to correspond with them, and we've never received a grant, and we've never received a paycheck. And we're not looking to, but if it works out, we feel like that we've earned the right to petition for a grant if we need it, and we will. The people that we serve, in the Bible it says that if we respond to the least of these, that we responded to Jesus. Ain't that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know this is a difficult situation for y'all. And I'm not looking to try to convince y'all or try to sway you in any way. Do your job. And we would appreciate y'all's prayers. And we're going to continue to serve. And if this door doesn't open up for us, God will open up another door for us. And I thank you very much for y'all's service to our community.
Thank you. Mr. Charlton, I have a question if I can. Just looking at the contract, I just noticed that it expired on February 16, but it looks like you didn't sign it until February 13. That was only 3 days. I assume there's been an extension of the contract to purchase.
It's been there for going on, I think in 5 months it's been on the market for 2 years. There's nobody. And the other thing about the maintenance, I'm a state licensed commercial contractor for 25 years. I can maintain the property.
Right. I was just asking if there's a current contract, if you have a current contract to purchase the property.
No, I do. I've been responding. I was talking to the realtor just yesterday or the day before. They're waiting for this just like we are.
Right, and that was put in the contract depending on what the Board of Supervisors does. Yes, sir. Okay.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Charlton?
I have none.
We'll see who maybe for this, anybody for this? You want to come up?
Amanda. Thank you.
My name is Lisa Barron. My address is 9904 Edgecliff Drive, Moss Point, Mississippi. My family's home is approximately 4.5 miles away from there. But my kids grew up there. My kids went to Moss Point High School. That is their stomping ground. And I want to speak on behalf. There are a lot of people for this in our community and other communities. I want to speak on behalf of not only my family, but so many others facing similar circumstances. I have a daughter currently in Fairland Rehab who has 5 children, pregnant with her 6th, has custody of none. Her choices that have been her own. She was not raised in this life that she has chosen. Upon her release in September, she will be there for 6 weeks after she has a baby she's pregnant with. Let me see. There has been many bridges that have been broken that not only can be repaired in time of her making lasting positive changes. A huge fear of mine is emotional pressures. Her coming back into our home in the area she grew up in, this is the place she got in trouble in. I mean, this area. I used to chase her up and down these streets. She's been in multiple rehabs, multiple mental health facilities. She was not raised this way, but these are her choices. Right now, when she gets out, she is going to be on an ankle monitor, on house arrest. Bringing her into any of her family's homes is mentally unsafe for not only her, but everybody in her family, as she's broken bridges. Just like in my family and so many other families go through this. And the emotional effect it has on families will break their families and break that person trying to change with a chance to change. What Stillwaters is offering is I have spoken to Ricky Charlton numerously about his goals and aspirations of what he wants to bring to not only the residents, but to the community where 4 Mile Baptist Church is. It includes NAs, AA meetings, Celebrate Recoveries, Bible studies, the worship, not only for the residents of the transitional house, but for the residents of the community, for the families, to get back together, to build together, and for the whole community to participate and grow in. This is my daughter's, like I said, this is my daughter's community. Our family's community. also the community that she made poor choices in. It's inevitable that she is coming back here. It is inevitable. As always, her choices will be hers, but this time on house arrest, okay? And with expectations, on not only from her family, but from the law and from the community in which we all have resided and for years. I appreciate the fact that Stillwater's residents have gone through long-term rehab first and in drug court, on probation or parole, as they are already aware that they will face long-term repercussions of their choices. The people in this program have already spent time hiding away from society in jails or rehabs at some point. They are going to be right back in the middle of our communities. So why not have a tool or stepping stone provided to assist in stopping the revolving door, restoring families and communities? That area up there north of 63 is growing. They're building. More families, more communities are gonna come. And this problem is growing, not only in our community, but in all communities. And I'm part of this community. I am for this, not just for ours, but for everybody's. We all have family that needs a change, and there's no other change. I mean, why can't we try? Why can't something be put there to try to make a difference, to stop? You know, it's unhealthy. I would love to say she can come home, but there's too much pain and hurt. It's just gonna hurt us, it's gonna hurt her. Her other options when she looks around are the streets that she's used to and the people she's used to. So either way, she's coming. But if there's a facility set up that's going to monitor her and help, you know, give her stability, we need it. Not only my family, but everybody's family that's in the same situation. That's it. Thank you.
Before we start on those again, so we did receive a letter this morning of opposition, so I want to make sure that we make that part of the record there. In planning commission, you know, we have a time limit for people to talk. I don't know if
Right.
anyone wants to set something up, or should we do that, Jimmy, or?
Well, we
I
could,
think it's up to the board.
Because you're going to have a lot of people that's going to talk against.
well, we could do the 3 minutes. What you have? What the planning commission do? 3 minutes?
Is what we do, yeah.
I mean, I think it's up to the board to be fair to both sides to hear, and if it were to go up on appeal, we wouldn't want to be seen as favoring one side versus another, so I think it's up to Mr. Morris as to.
How you want to do it, Troy? How you want to do it?
I mean,
It's the light
I
of
don't, I mean, we used to do a 3-minute time limit, and then we kind of
Quit away.
deviated from it just because there weren't that many people commenting on things,
But
so
now-
it was okay. But I mean, if there's gonna be a ton of people, I mean, at some point, we may have to go back to that. How many people want to talk? Y'all,
Who's against it wants to talk?
do y'all think y'all, as 3 minutes is good for y'all? I mean, if it's good with them, I say.
She said, boy,
I got,
There's one that says she can do it in 1 minute.
all right.
Okay, well, we'll start, those that are against it, that want to speak. You want to be first? Just come up and give your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Marcia Zender, 9269 Zender, 9269 River Lodge Drive. And I just want you to stop and read those letters, because Janice Coolidge didn't want to, she really didn't want to sign against this. But she got to thinking, and she looked up the statistics about how this place that he's wanting to put this, it is not a good place. And you're considering two types of people, two groups. One rehab, and my heart goes out to those people. I'm not against that. I'm against the location, and I'm against that those people coming. And like she said about her daughter, she can't come back home because there's problems. Well, we've got 85 and 86-year-old neighbors that live alone, that are taking care of invalid spouses, that have health problems. And I want you to please consider those people that's lived there for 50 or 60 years. And that's all. I think I might get in a minute.
Come on
Marcus, to your right.
Come on up.
Come on, when somebody finishes, somebody can stand up. Give your name and address for
Robert Gilman, 3812 Sentinel Drive. Probably 2 over and 2 down. That's the chest move on the properties where this church is, and then down to the right, that's where my house is. I don't have a problem with the business. I've only got a problem with its location. Somebody's unfortunate, has to, okay, you need help, I understand it. It's just, I just don't want it in my backyard, you know, or excuse me, my front yard. And I've been in the military did my 20 and did some dangerous locations. And so when I went to retire and find a nice calm place to be safe in, that's why I chose the location I did. There's no commercial corridors or any of that other stuff. I didn't know anything about that, but man, what a headache that is. But I don't want a commercial corridor near my place, and I don't necessarily have a problem with their mission. It's just their location.
Thank you. Come on up, ma'am. Give your name and address.
Hi, my name's Brenda Castano, and I live on Coventry Drive, 4204. And I have prior experience living and buttering to this type of situation.
Favor, pull that mic to you.
This one? Yeah, I'm too short, huh?
Yeah, okay.
I have prior experience abutting properties similar to this situation we have right now. These people would be outside, they'd be yelling and screaming all the time. And then somebody would call the police. So now everybody has to come, the fire department, the ambulance, and the police. Now you're using up all your resources, and all these people do, it's a loop system. They just yell and scream to get back into the system again because they think they're getting better, and they're not. And then they just get right back in. So there's just a vicious circle. They'll be there all the time. They'll be outside, they'll be yelling, they'll be screaming, and then somebody's gonna call. Please take that into consideration.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next person, come on up. Hello.
My name is Cindy McLeod, and I live at 3805 Sentinel Drive. I've lived there since 1982. And I am like Miss Marcia that got up here and said her heart does go out to the different ones that are in drug rehab and they have a problem. I do have sympathy for them. My husband, sometimes he's had to leave and not be home at night. I am a very scared person, no matter what, and yes, it does bother me. I'm even scared now today just because I've always been that way. But we do have so many older people ladies that have cried in our neighborhood seeing that this may happen, that they know they cannot sell their house and leave and go anywhere because they're at the age now that's just not anything they can do. And again, we do have a lot of older people. That's one of the main concerns is the older people that live in our neighborhood. We have many, many signatures of people that are against this. And I think someone said that they had a lot of signatures or a lot of people in our neighborhood that are for this. I've never talked to anyone or seen anything that has shown that anyone in our neighborhood is for this, maybe except for the lady that did just speak. But we're just hoping that y'all will consider, especially the older people in our neighborhood that is very, very concerned about this happening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come up?
Bear with me, I'm not going to vote. Bill Massey, 4212 Coventry Drive. My family and I have lived in our home since the second week of December in 1971. There are other neighbors in the area that was platted as Spring Acres subdivision that have been in their homes longer than I have. There are over 50 homes in this area. I don't see a person from any of these homes here that is speaking in favor of this facility. Across the highway, across Highway 613, Mr. Cronier lives right there. There's numerous other houses there and approximately the same number of houses there. I don't see anyone from those houses that are speaking in favor of this. There are people in my neighborhood that have just recently, in the last 2 years, bought homes. They did not buy these homes with the intention of something like this moving in next door to them or next to the development. These people are just like I have been for the years and years. They've invested in a home. They want it to be a home. They want it to be safe. I have one question that I want to pose to you folks, and I don't want an answer. It's a personal answer. Think about it. If this facility was coming next to your home, next to the area you live in, how would you vote then? How would you feel about it? Be honest, be sincere, and cast your vote in a manner that kind of goes with the majority of the people that live in the neighborhood, not people who live away, not people. I know in the Planning Commission meeting there was people that lived in Pascagoula that got up and spoke. They have no really ties to the neighborhood. But Lord, just like we want to thank you and be sincere with your vote, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Come on up.
I'm Fred Beckham. I have lived at 3905 Sentinel Drive since '71. And that whole street and neighborhood is full of old folks. And we are scared to death of what they're trying to do up there. That church was an asset to Spring Acres, but what they're trying to do now scares us, totally scares us. We're scared of that because we know too many times what people on drugs have done. And I hate to say that there might be some in that neighborhood. I don't know any. But if they are, they haven't bothered me. But I can't imagine what, if you get that many people with drugs, what they might do in our neighborhood. We're scared to death of them because they'll be traveling our streets day and night. And they say 9 o'clock. Well, 9 o'clock is just an hour after dark now, but in the wintertime, it's 4 hours after dark. So it scares us, and I appeal to you to give it just some good thought before you vote. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else against it?
For it. Against it.
Gary Miles, 4122 Fieldworth Road. Let's be clear on one thing. If you're going to a church that don't care about people, you're going to the wrong church, or it's not a church to begin with. But this, we could go a lot of places on this whole situation. One from the business asset, from how big this area is. I think Randy mentioned the fact that once something like this happens, kind of do what you want to do with it. This is a huge piece of property with two huge buildings on it, along with a metal building. Lot of things you could do, a lot of people that you could put in this place. According to Mr. Charlton, they're supposed to be working. It's not but just a couple businesses in there. Now, according to about an hour ago today, there was another similar situation here on a rezoning that talked about changes. Changes in this area that's supposed to have been done to have a zoning change. This area hasn't changed. Now, Washington Avenue has changed significantly. My parents been here 58 years down that street. You got Mr. Beckham that just spoke. He's in his 90s. I don't know how many heart problems he's had. Beside him is a single widowed lady, no kids. I built her house. She moved down here from Montana after her husband died. She's 80, age-ish, dementia, early signs of dementia. Her sister lives beside her. She's in like 92, widowed. Son's gone, only daughter is in Indiana. You know, these people have been here for decades. This neighborhood has been here for decades. I could go on and on about telling you the ages of these people. Mr. Piner that lives right behind Mr. Beckham, 91, he takes care of the McCarras that are in their 90s. Buck is legally blind, can't get out of the chair. Yeah, these people has did it right way for decades. School teachers, Miss Fillingame, widowed, mid-80s. She told me after the planning commission meeting, she grabbed me and hugged me and told me thank you for coming down here and speaking for them. She's scared to death of what may happen. You know, we had going back to the board and the laws, we had a similar situation. Manly Barton sold his house in our neighborhood, 2 houses down from me. They wanted a halfway house there. Board denied them. Go back to the changes. There's nothing changed here since then, since this place was built. You know, that many people in a place like this, one lady mentioned about resources. Resources are getting slimmer and slimmer in this county, getting slimmer and slimmer everywhere. In the court system, in the law, in the jails. You know, we got enough other problems.